Welcome back to the Audacity of Him. We've all seen them. You can't scroll through YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok for more than 5 minutes without one of these guys invading your screen. They're sitting in the driver's seat of a Lamborghini they rented by the hour, wearing a watch that costs more than your house, aggressively pointing at the camera and telling you that you're a wage slave. They tell you that you're a beta. They tell you that if you just buy their course or invest in their exclusive crypto algorithm, you can escape the matrix. The audacity of these fake alphas is staggering. They prey on the tired, the overworked, and the desperate. They build an entire identity on the illusion of wealth, using aggressively dominant posturing to bully people out of their hard-earned money. But what happens when one of these slick, fast-talking apex predators corners the wrong guy? What happens when the quiet guy at the party, the one they assume is just another clueless NPC, is actually the exact person who hunts financial predators for a living? Let me tell you a story. A true story about the night a self-proclaimed finance guru tried to pitch a crypto Ponzi scheme to a federal forensic accountant. Sit back, pour yourself a drink, and let's dissect the absolute audacity of this guy. It was a Friday night in downtown Chicago. A mutual friend from college, Dave, was throwing a networking mixer at his overpriced high-rise apartment. Dave is a good guy, but he's in tech sales, which means his social circle is a chaotic Venn diagram of actual professionals, desperate startup founders, and guys who unironically use the word grind set in casual conversation. I was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, nursing a club soda with lime. I'm a quiet guy by nature. I don't wear flashy clothes. I was in a plain charcoal gray cashmere sweater and dark jeans. No jewelry, no logos. In a room full of peacocks desperately trying to fan their feathers, I was doing my best to be wallpaper. My day job requires me to be observant. I'm a forensic accountant. Specifically, I work alongside federal agencies, often the FBI and the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, tracking illicit financial flows. I follow the money. I unravel complex shell companies, trace laundered crypto assets across decentralized exchanges, and build the evidentiary packages that put white-collar criminals in federal prison. My entire career is built on looking at a set of numbers and finding the lie. And then I saw him, the lie in human form. Let's call him Julian. Julian walked into the apartment like he was stepping into an arena, and the crowd was already chanting his name. He was wearing a suit that was a little too tight, radiating the suffocating scent of Tom Ford's Oud Wood. On his left wrist sat a massive, hideous rose gold hublet watch, the universal symbol of a guy who wants you to know he has money, but has absolutely no taste. I watched him operate. He didn't converse. He broadcasted. He was physically dominating every interaction, standing uncomfortably close to people, speaking loudly, interrupting, and constantly checking the room to see who was looking at him. He was the classic alpha archetype, a walking masterclass in overcompensation. Eventually, Julian's predatory gaze landed on me. I was alone, quietly observing, dressed simply. To a guy like Julian, I looked like a gazelle with a limp. I looked like a mark. He swaggered over, not bothering to introduce himself properly. He just invaded my personal space and looked me up and down. "Not much of a networker, huh?" Julian said, flashing a blindingly white, chemically enhanced smile. "Just taking in the view," I replied calmly. "I get it," he said, taking a sip of some amber liquid. "Some guys are born to watch. Some guys are born to play the game. What do you do for a living, man?" "Let me guess. IT? Middle management?" "I'm in accounting," I said, keeping it vague. It's usually a great conversation killer. Julian literally laughed out loud, a harsh, barking sound. "Accounting? Jesus Christ. So you're a professional wage cuck. No offense, bro, but you're literally counting other people's money while your boss gets rich off your time. How many hours a week you put in? 50? 60? For what? A 3% annual raise and a pizza party?" I took a slow sip of my club soda. "I do all right." "All right is the enemy of greatness, bro." Julian leaned in closer. The smell of his cologne was physically assaulting my sinuses. "You're trapped in the matrix. You're trading your finite time on this earth for depreciating fiat currency. It's pathetic. But look, I like you. You seem smart, just misguided. What if I told you I could replace your annual salary in 6 weeks? Here we go. 6 weeks? I asked, feigning mild curiosity. 6 weeks, he stated, locking eyes with me. I run a private wealth syndicate called Apex Quant. It's highly exclusive. We use a proprietary AI algorithm to execute high-frequency arbitrage trades across decentralized Web3 liquidity pools. We're exploiting market inefficiencies that retail investors don't even know exist. He fired off the buzzwords like a machine gun. AI, algorithm, arbitrage, Web3, liquidity. It's a linguistic smoke grenade designed to confuse the listener into submission. If you don't know what those words mean, you feel stupid. And if you feel stupid, you rely on the confidence of the guy speaking. That sounds complicated, I said, playing the part of the confused wage slave perfectly. It is complicated for a layman, Julian sneered, stepping even closer. But my algorithm does the heavy lifting. We guarantee, bro, a minimum 15% monthly return. Compounding. You give me 10 grand today, you're pulling a passive income of 1,500 a month by next cycle. You give me 50 grand, you quit your miserable fucking accounting job tomorrow. 15% a month, I asked. Guaranteed. Even Bernie Madoff only promised 1% a month. That was the trigger. Julian's entire demeanor shifted. The slick salesman vanished, replaced by volatile, toxic aggression. I had questioned his authority. I had disrupted his frame. In the Sigma male playbook, any challenge must be met with overwhelming dominance. He took a half step forward. We were now chest to chest. He was maybe an inch taller than me, and he tried to use every millimeter of it to loom over me. Don't ever fucking compare me to Madoff, you clueless little NPC, Julian spat, his voice dropping to a harsh, venomous whisper. A fleck of his spit landed on my collarbone. He reached up and actually poked me in the center of my chest with a stiff index finger. You don't know shit about the blockchain. You don't know shit about wealth generation. You're sitting here in your cheap-ass sweater, making 50 grand a year, and you have the audacity to question my platform? He poked me again, harder. You're a coward, Julian growled. You're a pussy who's terrified of taking a risk, so you're going to die broke. I'm offering you the keys to the kingdom, and you're too busy licking your boss's boots to take them. The tension in our corner of the room spiked. A few people nearby stopped talking and glanced over. Julian was breathing heavily, his eyes wide and furious. He was trying to physically intimidate me into backing down, hoping I would apologize, cower, and validate his supremacy. I didn't move an inch. I didn't blink. I let the silence hang between us for 5 excruciating seconds. I just stared back into his eyes until his furious glare started to show the tiniest microscopic cracks of uncertainty. Okay, I said quietly. My voice was perfectly flat, completely devoid of emotion. I reached over to a nearby side table and picked up a white paper cocktail napkin and a black ballpoint pen that Dave had left near the guest book. Let's look at the kingdom, Julian. I placed the napkin flat on the glass table between us. I didn't look at him. I just started drawing. You claim your AI executes high-frequency arbitrage on decentralized exchanges, I said, my voice cutting through the party noise like a scalpel. I drew 3 boxes and labeled them DEXA, DEXB, and Apex Quant. For an arbitrage bot to guarantee a 15% monthly return, factoring in the current average gas fees on the Ethereum mainnet and the standard slippage on low liquidity pairs, your algorithm would need to successfully identify and execute roughly 400 profitable microtrades a day with a 0% failure rate. I drew a line connecting the boxes, calculating the mathematical impossibilities. Julian's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. But here is the real issue, Julian, I continued, pressing the pen hard into the napkin. Real arbitrage exploits temporary price differences. The moment your bot executes a trade, it closes the gap. The market corrects. Therefore, the strategy is inherently unscalable. If you had an algorithm capable of generating 180% annual yield without risk, bringing on retail capital would actually dilute your own returns. You wouldn't be begging strangers at a party for 10 grand. You'd be taking a proprietary loan from Goldman Sachs for 50 million and quietly running it yourself. You, you don't understand the proprietary routing, Julian stammered. The aggression had instantly evaporated from his voice. He sounded like a middle schooler who had just been caught lying about his homework. Oh, I understand it perfectly, I said, looking up from the napkin directly into his eyes. The predator was now the prey. You aren't using an arbitrage bot. You're operating a high-yield investment program, a HYIP. It's a standard smart contract Ponzi scheme. I drew a massive circle on the napkin, writing new investor capital inside it. You take the principal from the new victims you aggressively bully at parties. I drew a heavy arrow pointing downward. And you use it to pay the 15% yield to the earlier investors. It creates the illusion of liquidity. It works beautifully until the rate of new capital acquisition slows down. Then, the smart contract gets drained, the algorithm suddenly experiences a critical glitch, and you disappear with whatever is left in the primary wallet. Julian literally took a step back. The color was rapidly draining from his face. The aggressive, chest-poking alpha male from 3 minutes ago was gone. He was replaced by a terrified con artist realizing he had just stepped onto a landmine. Listen, man, Julian said, holding his hands up defensively, palms facing me. I don't know who you think you are, but you're way out of line. I'm an entrepreneur. You're a fraud, Julian, I stated. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. And the reason I know exactly how your little syndicate is structured is because of what I do for a living. I took a slow step forward, mirroring the physical invasion he had pulled on me earlier. He immediately shrank back, bumping against the windowsill. I told you I was in accounting, I said, my voice dropping to a low, deadpan register. I didn't tell you who I account for. I am a forensic auditor for the Department of Justice. I specialize in tracking illicit digital assets. 3 months ago, I was part of the task force that raided a crypto mining operation in Miami that was running the exact same arbitrage scam you just pitched me. The guys running that one were a lot smarter than you, Julian. They used offshore mixers. They had shell companies in the Caymans. We still found them. I leaned in, ensuring he could hear every syllable clearly over the music. The 2 founders? They're currently sitting in federal holding, awaiting trial for wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering. They're looking at 20 years each, and they didn't go around aggressively poking federal contractors in the chest at cocktail parties. Julian was now visibly sweating. I could actually see the beads of moisture forming on his forehead. The Hublot watch on his wrist suddenly looked incredibly heavy. He looked wildly around the room, as if expecting FBI agents to suddenly drop from the ceiling. I'm just an affiliate, Julian stammered, his voice cracking completely. The Sigma male facade had entirely shattered. He was hyperventilating. I didn't write the code. I just market the platform. I gotta go. I think you should, I said. I picked up the cocktail napkin with the breakdown of his scam, folded it neatly, and tucked it into the breast pocket of his expensive tight suit. Keep the napkin, Julian. Show it to your lawyer. Because when the SEC and the IRS CID inevitably audit your primary wallet, that math is exactly what they are going to use to send you to federal prison. Have a safe drive back to the suburbs in your rented car. Julian didn't say another word. He turned around so fast he nearly knocked over a woman holding a tray of hors d'oeuvres. He didn't say goodbye to Dave. He didn't get his coat. He practically ran to the front door, his expensive leather shoes slipping awkwardly on the hardwood floor. The door slammed shut behind him. I stood by the window for a few more minutes, sipping my club soda. The party continued around me, completely oblivious to the absolute psychological dismantling that had just taken place in the corner. Dave walked over a few minutes later, holding 2 fresh drinks. Hey man, Dave said, looking around confused. Where did Julian go? I was going to introduce you guys. He's killing it in crypto right now. I smiled, took a sip of my drink, and looked out over the Chicago skyline. He had to leave early, Dave, I said. I think he just realized his math was a little off. And that, gentlemen, is why you never let the loud, flashy guy in the room dictate your reality. These finance gurus, these fake Sigma males, they thrive on one thing, your insecurity. They use aggressive language, cheap insults like wage slave or NPC, and rented status symbols to make you feel small. They want you to feel desperate, because a desperate man doesn't do the math. A desperate man hands over his wallet without asking to see the back end of the algorithm. True power isn't loud. True power doesn't need to poke a stranger in the chest at a party to feel big. True power is intellect. It's competence. It's standing your ground, staying ice cold, and systematically dismantling their bullshit with cold, hard facts. The next time some fast-talking hustler tries to sell you the keys to the kingdom, remember Julian. Remember how fast the fake alpha crumbles when confronted with actual, undeniable reality. Stay sharp, stay observant, protect your assets, and more importantly, protect your mind from these predators. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the fake guru grind set, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Audacity of Him for more stories and psychological breakdowns of the modern hustle culture. Let me know in the comments below. What's the worst financial scam a guru has ever tried to pitch you? Until next time, stay dangerous, but keep your math correct.